Governments cannot resist the temptation to dilute their money, and when they do, real value flees to assets they cannot counterfeit. But not every collapse comes from rulers tinkering with coins. Sometimes it comes from shocks that strike out of nowhere. In the mid-14th century, Europe was struck by the most devastating pandemic in its history, the Black Death. Between 1347 and 1351, as many as half of all Europeans died. Cities emptied, villages vanished, trade routes broke down. And yet, the economic story of the plague is more complex than simple catastrophe, because when half the labor force disappears, labor becomes precious. Survivors could demand higher wages. Food and land, once scarce, became relatively abundant compared to people. Families with liquidity, silver, goods, or even just the ability to work, suddenly had leverage they'd never dreamed of. Land that once cost a fortune could be bought for a fraction. Houses stood abandoned, fields unplowed, and the survivors were in a buyer's market. If that sounds uncomfortably familiar, it should. During the COVID pandemic, we saw a modern version of this. Supply chains disrupted, governments printing trillions to keep the machine from seizing up, and a wave of inequality as those with liquidity bought assets while those living paycheck to paycheck slipped behind. In the United States, housing prices soared, stock markets recovered almost instantly, while millions of ordinary people scrambled to cover rent. The rhyme is clear. Pandemics redistribute wealth. They always have. Survivors of the Black Death leveraged scarcity to climb the social ladder. Survivors of COVID with liquidity scooped up property, stocks, and businesses that others could no longer hold. The lesson is not comforting, but it is true. Crises reward those with reserves and punish those without them.